All right, I'm excited to be back in Hong Kong twice in the same hour, even, never mind day. Welcome back, Olivia. One of my favorite questions always I tell everybody is about influencers. My grandfather, was the first one to influence me when I asked him, we took me for walks in the park when I was a little kid, and he talked to everybody. I called him Zaid, how do you know all these people? He says, didn't know any of them. One day I just started smiling at them and they smiled back. And then, they started talking to me. So I talked to them and so on and so forth. And that was one of an influential thing for me to learn. But what about you? Can you share with us maybe 2 or 3 people that have been influential in your life?
Sure. So then I think one, I'm going to have to, of course, go with my family, and one is external. So then I think definitely my influencer, I have to say my parents, because of everything they've done, moving us to the US when we were very young, giving us an opportunity. But I'm going to they know I love them. So I'm going to say that actually my paternal grandmother, because although I've never met my paternal grandmother, I have heard amazing stories about her, and I've always been told that we need to be more like my grandmother. So she's back in those days where during the war, she grew up during time before World War II and all these things. And so when in those days when women are still kind of bound at home and you're supposed to be looking after the family. So my paternal grandmother was actually a businesswoman. So
Wow.
she was the one that actually run business, make money, and not only in terms of looking after the children, but she also actually go and was the one that's the businesswoman making money. Now, my grandfather also worked too, but my grandfather was working in a store. So he wasn't he's not an entrepreneur. My
Right.
grandmother was an entrepreneur. And I find that to be one of my greatest influencers, because on that first part of my life it kind of tells me that as a woman, or underrepresented group, that you actually, you're not determined by the environment that you're in. You're only limited by what you place limitation on yourself. So I think, she's definitely my first influencer.
Right.
In terms of where I'm today. I think my second influencer is interesting. And so, I work with Habitat for Humanity as a volunteer for, over close to 17 years. And I sit on the board in Hong Kong right now. And I think one of my influencers is actually a father that I met on my very first Habitat built in Sri Lanka. And so it was after the Asian tsunami. And he was, he basically, their house were all destroyed. So we're there kind of helping them to build. And he worked so hard. I mean, all the other homeowners, they were working to build their home as well, and, but, he was he was so determined in terms of using the exact right kind of sand. He sift through, make us sift through all the sand. He measure every time when we put a brick in. He's there, next to us, working with us nonstop. And, at the same time, caring for his family, And so I think for me, it kind of demonstrates that at the end of the day is, even when the life kind of throws you like the worst curveball, when you look in front of you, you can see things that almost you got nothing, everything is destroyed. That ultimately, he is so determined because he has a family to look after. And he's seeing people that's coming to help him. And he's just not going to sit around. He's going to make sure that he's there to actually do, the right things to make sure that his family is taken care of, and working with others and appreciating the efforts. And so I think, for me, that really kind of shows me is, again, when you have a goal and when you are seeing people that's helping you, you're going to grab onto that and you're not going to ever give up. And so, for me, that is enormous. And, and I'm sure that, his house is all perfect, nice little one room, place in Sri Lanka that, I'm sure that he's living happily, and we do, keep track of what's going on. So, yeah, so I think that for me is one internal, my own family, and one external influencer, giving me that sort of hope and tenacity, to keep going.
Such great stories, because one is somebody you didn't even meet, but and the other one is obviously a great story too, and he cared that other people cared, and he also was looking to do the best for his family, and you can't underestimate when you're throwing that curveball. You're talking about how hard it is to not be depressed, and hard it is to just not give up and all that stuff. So that's massively influential. So good for you for recognizing him, and thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, no, thank you, Mark.